Hello, my mimics, and welcome back to the Mimic Commentary, episode, 73. This area, right beneath the Church of Vows, is where we just picked up a Trina Lily last episode, because I knew I forgot this one. And what can we see? Well, we could see that leaves are falling from the Erd Tree. The fallen leaves are telling a story, and they're boosting our rune acquisition, as you can see in the top left. What do we see down here? A little smattering of rocks, maybe something to explore when we get down there. The broken bridge leading to the academy, 4 bell towers, the academy itself. We could see sunken ruins of the town on the outside. It's a little hazy right now. It's still nighttime. Morning is coming. Our minor Erd tree in the background that has the snake snail. The academy from this angle, pretty cool. We have this awesome bell tower that goes all the way up. Wow, that is just from knowing how my academy is built. That is the grand library right there. That is where Renala's hanging out. Spiral staircase. There's a spiral staircase down there too. Are these two? Well, actually, looking at the buildings, they're different colors. This one has more gold on it, and this one does not. Same as everything, and anything else different? When we get to the academy, we'll have to pay close attention to determine when these two buildings were constructed, because it might be a case that one building is older than the other, and they have different information, store different things. You could see that there's also a bridge in between there, and then we have the rest of the sunken town, and that's where we're going. What's the fastest way? You know what? We're just gonna use. There's also, we can run down. You know what? We'll run down this way. Yeah, we'll run down that way. Hey, that moon looks a little dark right now, doesn't it? Different color than it used to be. Keeps changing colors. Maybe the moon is going through phases. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. It's darker than normal. We will notice that, if you've been paying attention, that the moon is actually changing color. It is actually changing color, and it changes, I think, based on time of day and also world state. The moon is normally not looking like this. Normally doesn't look like that dark bluish color. But we can get it to stay like that constantly after we change the world state, very, very late into the game. But it's just interesting how it changes back and forth, and without knowing why, it might seem pretty innocuous. But we know why, don't we, folks? This is a early morning recording session for me, and so might be a different vibe. It's late night in Liurnia, early morning in the recording studio, but it's not actually a studio, it's just my living room. Three white wolves, what an unlucky number, hanging outside the study hall. Oh, it's all white wolves. Oh, interesting. It's all white wolves over here. Huh. Yeah, I'm just gonna fight them real quick. Oh, 4 white wolves. Wow. That's interesting. Sorry. I'm just having fun. I guess they're not gonna be aggressive. I don't know why I killed the wolf. It just felt like something I had to do. Now, this is a way I don't normally come down to explore. What do the notes say? No head ahead. Enemy ahead. Enemy ahead. Excellent. And this is called the Eastern Liurnian Lakeshore. Wow, how descriptive. We could see the roadway actually goes through here. And if we were to follow it straight, it would lead us right into the town. But we are actually going to cut across this way. Or I guess we could go through the town backwards. Yeah, we could just go through the town backwards instead of, like, doing it that way. I want to get to Hyetta and chat with her, but I don't want to miss other things. But there is this type of, like, magic and wonderment of walking through Liurnia like this. Also need to try and get these guys to drop weapons. $300 a hit. How much does our normal axe do? That's a pretty good amount of damage. You can see why the Karian Knights are not a force to be messed with. Alright, where are we looking at? Okay, so if we were still following the path... Oh, is this the intended route? To meet a friend? Alright. So I'm just getting my bearings. I know we haven't done we haven't seen anything interesting to talk about yet. Except we might right here. No. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Interesting to note, why is the Academy Gate Town destroyed? I'm gonna think it has to do with sinking into the lake. That is most likely, and probably why we see, like, so many Miranda flowers here. That could indicate... Oh, I haven't thought of this before, but Miranda flowers could indicate that people have died within the region because they're man-eaters, and the way to grow is they have to eat people. So perhaps the Miranda flowers indicate how many people have died in a given area. But I'm also thinking that the Academy Gate Town is sinking because, or it's collapsed like this because the world, like the lake, is sinking. Like the ground has ruptured and the foundation, like, fell, like, just based on this building, like, being collapsed, like, inward. This doesn't seem like a siege or a dragon attack. It seems like natural occurrence, and it must have happened a while ago because we still have trees here, unless the trees were always here. No, the trees fell over too. So trees are also being destroyed. So there must have been... The trees must have been present before, and then... Yeah, it's the whole ground is sinking. And who do we have here?
Liurnia. It's me, Diallos. Answer me, would you?
Alright, this is our friend from the Round Table Hold, Diallos. He was a nobleman from outside the Lands Between. I compared him a bit to Rhaegar because of all the rubies on his armor. This must be his servant, Liurnia. Interesting that she's fitted in chainmail. Kind of gives me... he also called her a tomboy who runs off. So let's just do a little recap. But before we do, let's look at his armor again. So he's nobility from outside the Lands Between. Maybe a little lilies. Maybe that's lilies there? Who's to say? A snarling beast on his back. And flowers blooming around the neck, if we remember. That dead Albinoric woman, she had flowers blooming where she died. What type of flowers are these? Let's see, are they like... I always want to say bloomed lilies, but, you know, we can't say for certain. They're also silver. Important that they're silver. Even has the rubies encrusted on his fingertips. Alright, he's actually distraught. He's very upset Liurnia's dead. But let's just remember, Liurnia continuously was always running away from him. Always running away from Diallos. She's a servant of his, and they come to the Lands Between, and she doesn't want to be his servant anymore because he says that a house's honor and a house's name isn't really worth much in this place. So all else, they should be considered equals. We theorized, here, you know what? Let me kill some Albanorex while we chat this. Did Diallos come here on a boat, like Roderica? Or did he die and get reborn in the Lands Between with grace? Not sure yet. Since he has a servant, we have two choices. They both came here across the Sea of Fog on a boat. Or they both died and were reborn here, meaning that he was buried in this armor and she was buried in this armor, and they would return to the Lands Between together. So, you know, either we think of, like with Roderica, they are just, you know, why would it just be him? Him and this one servant? Or is it a case that, you know, where I'm leading to, where, you know, oh, you are from a noble house, and in the afterlife you're going to go to the Lands Between, and, you know, thinking of like Egyptians burying their pets and their belongings and their servants with them, so when they get reborn into the afterlife, they have all those things with them. Same thing happens in Game of Thrones with a Dothraki. Khal Drogo, when he dies, I think his horse is also killed with him too. And Dany, I think, might... she's supposed to go to the Dosh Colleen. She's not supposed to be killed. But I think the horse is supposed to be killed with him, so he can ride his horse into the Nightlands. All right. Let's see how Diallos is doing.
Hello, friend. Tell me if you know, would you? The whereabouts of the hidden house of those despicable fiends. The recusants who hunt their fellow tarnished. They laid hands upon my servant Liurnia, and I refused to let the insult stand. The tale of House Hoslow is told in blood. I, Diallos, swear to deliver the message.
Okay. Well, so we met Raya over here. Patches told us to meet her. And she wanted us to kill the Blackguard. But we didn't kill him. We just bought her necklace. And then she gave us an invitation. Where is that? Is it to the Volcano Manor? We don't know if those are the recusants yet. My prophetic knowledge is telling me these might be the recusants, but we don't actually know that yet. But we'll use our prophecy. The whereabouts of a hidden house of those despicable fiends, the recusants who hunt their fellow tarnished. Well, you know, she wanted us to hunt down a tarnished to become a champion. They got different names for things. We faced a recusant before at the Limgrave Coliseum. We were invaded by recusant. We faced recusant Hernicus, and he was wearing a tabard that looked like Gideon Ofnir's sigil, and he gave us the Hammer Talisman. Hammers are highly effective against shield-bearing foes, so much that they're known as Night Killers. So recusant Hernicus was a Night Killer working for this hidden house of despicable fiends to hunt their fellow tarnished. So they laid hands on Liurnia. So some recusant killed his servant. And he refuses to let this stand. The tale of House Hoslow is told in blood. So we've talked about the storytelling aspect of these games. We've talked about the fallen leaves tell a story. The Elden Ring is made of runes, and runes are letters and words, and we saw it getting repaired and was weaved with a thread, maybe narrative threads holding the Elden Ring together. And the video game that we're playing right now is also called Elden Ring. That story aspect is very similar to A Song of Ice and Fire, where the primary prophecy in A Song of Ice and Fire is the Song of Ice and Fire. So the story that you're reading and the prophecy about how that story goes are called the same thing. So the tale of House Hoslow is told in blood. So we have that story aspect. Story is also, I don't think it's very, I don't know if it's prevalent here. Yes. So in the runes so far, we're just getting golden runes. In the Souls games, in Dark Souls and Demon Souls, and not really Bloodborne, but Dark Souls and Demon Souls, the soul level, instead of this just being golden runes numbered, they were storied soul, lost soldier soul, storied hero soul, legendary soldier soul, legendary hero soul. We kind of see that indicative with the gloveworts, how since times of old, large gloveworts were used to comfort heroic spirits, given in tribute to those who died the most glorious of deaths in hopes that their stories would become legends. So the idea of stories embodying kind of immortality and power, very prevalent throughout all the games, and it's prevalent as well in A Song of Ice and Fire. Season 8, we learn Bran is said to be the memory of the world, and the Night King wants to kill him, so the world can forget. Sam Tarley says something like, "That's what death is, isn't it? It's forgetting." So there's a story of House Hoslow, and this is his tagline. So the tale of House Hoslow is told in blood, and he's going to deliver that message. Let's see if he says anything else.
They laid hands upon my servant Liurnia. A tale of House Hoslow is told in Diallos.
Okay, yeah. So he just repeats it. He wants to get revenge. There is, I think, a misinterpretation in the tale of House Hoslow is told in blood. That sounds like the tale of House Hoslow is told in blood. We got imitation crabs. The tale of House Hoslow is told in blood, meaning like to them, oh, we are supposed to, we're killers. We're gonna fight. That's the blood. That's why we have the blood red rubies, because our tale is told in blood. However, it could mean something different. Like the story of House Hoslow is in their blood, like it's told in the blood. We recently did the Rose Church, and we learned about cursed blood, and this cursed blood causes spirits to assail them. Roderica is a noble woman, and she was able to become a spirit tuner because Hugh noticed the hue of her eyes. So because her eyes were a specific hue, was she able to become a spirit tuner. And no doubt, I would say, it's tied to her bloodline as well. There's something special about her family, her heritage, that allows her to be a spirit tuner. Same thing could be said for House Hoslow. Why does House Hoslow have nobility? Where do they get that power from? Well, they come from, originally all the Tarnished come from the Lands Between. So that one's pretty easy. Maybe, they come from the Lands Between, and they're a powerful, noble house of some way. These guys are just spitting blue. Probably most likely tied to Godfrey's lot, but they don't have to be like royal Godfrey warriors. You know what I'm saying? They could be part of whatever group. We don't know, but that's something we would like to learn. I actually want to, since I can. Since I have a lot of since I can equip a bow, that gives us runes. It shows us that they're propelling the thing with runes, which I think is pretty interesting. What are we doing on mana? I guess I cast Blessing's Boon, and then we chug. So it's interesting to think about that. What is his heritage, and what does the story of his blood tell? What is the story of his blood? It's told in blood. And we should kind of think about that on a wider scale, on the macrocosm of Elden Ring, that the Elden Ring story is told through bloodlines, I would say. Not just the tale of Taos Oslo is told in blood. That means we have to be violent, we have to fight people, and we have to kill people. But the bloodlines, who are people related to, and how does that affect others? You know, so far we have the golden lineage. That's a bloodline. Godfrey and his offspring. That's the golden lineage. We have the Carians, which is Rennala, and everyone who comes before Rennala. Then Rennala and Radagon. Then we have Marika and Radagon. So we have Marika's bloodlines. We'll call it the Eternal Bloodline. We have the Eternal Bloodline. We have the Golden Lineage, which is Godfrey plus the Eternal Bloodline. Then we have the Carian Bloodline, and then that bloodline gets commingled with Radagon. Radagon has red hair, like the Fire Monk, so a northern bloodline. Godfrey may have relation to the Cadens, so he might have northern bloodline in him too. His hair from the paintings we've seen is gray and not red, so we really don't know what his hair looks like. And yeah, so that's just something interesting thing about. It's going to be a while, I think, before we actually learn about the Hoslo bloodline, but it's very interesting. Is it a Crucible bloodline because it's got beasts on him? He has flowers. Is it a flower bloodline? A flower bloodline would most likely be tied to the tree, I would think, or maybe it's separate. There's a star bloodline. I don't know if we know anything about giants. Is there a giant bloodline? Very cool stuff. Oh, Muriel said that that Radagon had his likeness made in giant stature. So probably Radagon has some giant's blood in him. He's red-haired Radagon. Do we know if the giants have red hair? I'm looking for the Flame of the Fell God. Fire giants, no, but I mean, you know, we can use a little prophetic wisdom. Fire giants, red hair, you know, I think we can use a little prophetic wisdom there. We got a grape from her dad. He went mad, looking for revenge, and his spirit attacked us. And what do you know?
Hello? Is someone there? Would you donate any Shabriri grapes in your possession to me? I'm on a pilgrimage in search of the distant light, and when I eat one of those grapes, I can feel the light in the back of my eyes.
Okay. Let us do a little paralleling before we give her the grape. Before we put the grape in her hand. We've talked about how... you know what? Let's give her the grape and then we'll talk about her while we're riding.
Oh, many thanks to you. Now I can feel the distant light once more. That aside, I wonder what Shabriri grapes really are. Delectably tender and sweet, yet searing. What a sight they must be to behold.
Yes, they are a sight to behold. I'm sorry, miss. I have been feeding you human eyes.
No. That's not possible. Not all of those people. Their own... So those noises I heard were...
Ooh. Oh, that's sad.
Sorry. I'm all right now. Don't mind me.
Oh. Okay. So she heard people, the sounds that they heard, she heard people plucking out their own eyes. That's why their hands are so frail. These maddened people, their eyes burning with the flame of frenzy. Because remember, when we cast Flame of Frenzy spells, they're maddening, and they burst from the caster's eyes. And we know this is a region that is full of madness, because the eyes of yellow are here. What comes first? Eyes of yellow or the madness? These are used to create dangerous intoxicants and pain-relieving properties. Are people getting addicted to Eyes of Yellow, and that causes madness, kind of like a substance abuse or drug addiction, which is usually predicated by, other issues. Generally people who fall into substance abuse, like any other addiction, there's usually something before, like there's a pain that needs to be taken care of. Either it's a physical pain, emotional pain, a spiritual pain, or a mental pain, and it's not a solution. It covers up the symptoms and then causes its own problems because of its addictive nature. That's why we should always show kindness, support, and respect to our friends and peers who may be suffering addiction to substances. All right, show kindness. Sometimes it can be very difficult. Sorry for a side tangent. It can be difficult to be to work, or putting a lot of energy for people who have substance abuse issues. So you have to watch out and make sure you're not expending too much of your own energy. A lot of that, to get out of that type of pit it takes a lot of self-work, but the support systems need to be available to assist in that in those ways when people are looking to get help. You can't just shouldn't just abandon people, but there still is a case to be made that it's not always easy to assist or work or be with family members or friends who are experiencing substance abuse and may be acting in ways that aren't really indicative of who they are. They change them. The substances change them, and looping it back to Elden Ring, can make them go mad. It can induce frenzy. It can induce madness. And that's kind of, I think there might be a parallel to substance abuse and drug addiction when it comes to looking at the madness stuff. Can we make anything with Eyes of Yellow before we continue? Hey, what Elden Ring lore analysis is going to talk about? No, we can't make anything with Eyes of Yellow yet. Who's going to talk about drug addiction, the parallels of the, George R. Martin quotes William Faulkner all the time. The only stories worth writing about are the human heart in conflict with itself. It doesn't matter if your story takes place in a hospital, on a spaceship, or in a castle. The only stories worth telling are those about the human heart in conflict with itself. And using things like Eyes of Yellow, frenzy, and madness to find parallels within the real world, such as, people suffering from substance abuse addiction and, that inescapable madness and that inescapable frenzy and that desire to be helped but not knowing how, being trapped in the folds of a never-ending spiral. That is a human story, and it's a real story, and we can see it in Elden Ring. These people were so distraught, they wanted to give this maiden eyes so she can see the distant light and be drawn by the fingers.
I apologize. You only did as I asked. I'll be fine. Think no more of it.
That's it?
I apologize. I'll be fine.
So, Hyetta is a really important parallel. I think it was like when we first got into Liurnia, we talked about, or even in Weeping Peninsula, I talked about, Hyetta is first arena of Morn. Already there's a little bit of kind of rebirth happening there. Originally, she was, there's a lot of references to Dark Souls 3 with Arena from Kareem and her knight Egon, who has the Morn shield or whatever it's called, or maybe it's his sword. It's something like that. But the two of the names were together there. There's a little bit of spiritual rebirth there in that, this is a very similar character to one from Dark Souls. She then dies. Oh, Trina lilies. I didn't know these were here. This is why we have to explore. Are these? Okay. I got to deal with these while we chat. Oh my goodness. She then dies and is reborn as Hyetta. So we have, and this is also, we got the, what shield? The Shield of the Guilty, talking about Maiden being reborn in these lands. She becomes a Finger Maiden after her rebirth, and she's following a distant light, essentially the lore of the fingers, I would say. Who else? She also doesn't remember who she was. Who else fits that description? Who else fits that description? Well, Melina. Melina plays the role... Oh, cracked crystal. Is that what I needed to... Yes. Excellent. Oh, wait, I should have read what the cracked crystal was. Oh, no. Did I use it all? Oh, we still have one. Cracked, impure, degraded, altogether unremarkable crystal. Widely found crystal tunnels. Melina also is someone who is... she's a spirit. And do we know anything about spirits being reborn? I think that is from Shield of the Guilty. Shield made to venerate a maiden whose eyes were crushed by the briars of sin before being reborn in these lands. Hyetta is blind since birth. Her eyesight's blind. Melina has one eye sealed, venerating the repose of the soul. The shield boosts focus. The briars can be made to attack. So the repose of the soul, that is tied to purgatory and the soul having to go through the repose of the soul before it can reach heaven. Melina plays the role of a Finger Maiden. She plays the role of a Finger Maiden. So is Hyetta. Hyetta is playing the role of a Finger Maiden, so she says. Hyetta is following the distant light. Melina needs us to bring her to the Erd Tree, also a distant light. Where's Hyetta going? Think about where Hyetta's story ends. Think about where Melina's story ends. We'll compare and contrast them later, but you can already see the parallels there. Now, if Arena dies and turns into Hyetta, and she doesn't remember who she was before, who is Melina? Who is Melina? Well, Melina gives us the echoes of America. She also gave us the flask of crimson tears and cerulean tears. And we need sacred tears, which are found at the statues of Marika and Ratigan, to enhance the flasks. So Melina gives us a flask of tears. And we know that at the age... When the age of the Erd Tree began, such blessings were personally bestowed upon their recipients by Queen Marika herself. A sap from the Erd Tree. Isn't that interesting? So it looks like... And hey, we don't have to... This is just our theorizing. Just some Mimic commentary theorizing. What if Melina is a reborn Marika, and she is guiding us and doesn't even know? She doesn't even know she's Marika. But I think we do. All right, Trina. What are we supposed to look and see? Erd Tree, Academy, Divine Tower, Moon, Minor Erd Tree, Minor... I'm not really... What can't we see? Well, we could see everything here, really. What can't we see? From here. I don't know. I think that's going to be a real Trina thing. All right. Melina is a reborn Marika. And you know what you need to be reborn? The Amber Egg Cradle by Renala. To birth people anew. Core of a creature of mimicry known as a silver tear, as much as Stubbins as a living organism. And in the Amber Egg is a great rune. So the Elden Ring has the power of rebirth. It is a great rune. We were already here. Don't bother me, lobsters. So let's go through the gate town. So how about that? Yeah, I think, And that kind of means a lot for Torrent choosing us. That actually helps. If Melina doesn't know she's Marika, this is why this explains the relationship with Torrent better. Marika could be Torrent's former master. And Melina might not know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Melina could be Torrent's former master, but she might not be aware of that relationship. Torrent chooses us, and Melina just has to like, Torrent's like, this is the guy, and she's like, I don't trust him. Let's test him. Another Trina Lily. Are we supposed to look at this door? What can we say? Imitation crab. Is it the door? Well, I don't know if I see anything interesting on the door. The windows? Very glossy. Yeah, so Torrent has a mission. And he's from the Spectral Steed. Finger whistle. Oh, you know, we never... Is Bach still... Oh, I never gave that back. I never gave the needle to Bach. He would probably really like that. We'll do that later. But I think that's an interesting... I'm not sure what the Citrino Lily is supposed to see us here. I don't know what the... I'm not really sure about that one. It's interesting we think about this relationship then. Not just like who is... Like this plan then, I guess. Like, we need... Like, let's think from Marika's perspective. I need to be reborn. I won't... And I need to get back to the Erd Tree. I wonder where she gets reborn then. I need to get to the Erd Tree, and I need a specific tarnish to get me there. A specific tarnished is gonna... Oh! Is that ice or sleep? I think that was sleep. I mean, I think it was ice. Oh, an Arteria leaf, too. Oh, interesting shield. Oh my god, these guys all have interesting weapons. A lot of silver weapons. Okay, these are special Albinorics. Let's see, is that Frost? It's not hitting me. Okay, I think it's Frost, though. Wish I could get their weapons. So let's keep thinking about what... Oh, jeez. What does Oh, he's got golden runes. He knows what's up. There's a lot of these guys. I'm going to be reborn. I'm gonna die. How am I gonna die? Why do I need to die? Okay, but after my death, I'm gonna be reborn, and I'm not gonna remember who I am. So Torrent... Oh, we can actually think of her plan. So her plan is she banishes Godfrey. Godfrey's banished. Oh, hell yeah. Sick. Okay, wait. We're gonna put a pin... We're going to put a pin in the Marika talk, okay? We're going to put a pin in that. We're going to think about Melina is Marika. We'll think about it in the future, but we're going to put a pin in it. Maybe you guys can think of it on your own. Melina is a reborn Marika. That's the theorizing we're doing, based on her parallel to Hyetta. She's a reborn Marika, and she needs Torrent to bring her to a specific tarnished. Our tarnished. Us. Why? And how does that fit with banishing Godfrey and his warriors and when they come back? Okay? So we'll think about that later, but I want to look at these items and chat about those. Because looking at the time, we're gonna run out of time, and I want to make some more progress. We'll continue at that theorizing. Rippled Crescent Halberd. Okay, so moon imagery. Weapon wielded by young Albinaurics. Okay, so these guys are young. Recently made by human hands. These are young Albinaurics, as opposed to the old Albinaurics that we found in the Albinauric village. Old Albinaurics here. Very old. We saw them trying to be... Some of them are trying to reborn themselves with poison. Rebirth put into practice. They have... It's moons. They're tied to the moon. Also spinning slash. Like the Shamshir. And it's silver as well. Let's equip that and take a look at it. A crescent. Oh, but the spear goes through it a bit. Oh, you know what? Since this is a halberd, it's much like the dragon halberd, also silver. Except this one does a lot of thrust attacks. Okay. Let's keep looking. The blade is said to resemble a partial image of a ripple, and attack power scales with one's arcane attribute. So the arcane. Can we look at explanation? Attribute governing discovery. Okay, so having... Let me just check arcane and Bloodborne real quick. Because that's the first introduction to arcane. In Bloodborne, the arcane is tied to knowledge of the beyond, knowledge, inhuman knowledge, essentially. It's not like insight is more like that too, but insight is like, you know, think insight, like you're looking inside of yourself, knowing yourself better. But the arcane in Bloodborne is tied to a lot of... Oh, this is totally Sunrealm town. This town is totally built Sunrealm. This is the same stuff as the graveyards, I think. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun saying this Sunrealm. So it... Okay, let me get too ahead of myself. So it needs arcane. It needs some cosmic. It's cosmic. Arcane is tied to like cosmic stuff. And this is a crescent, so it looks like a moon. So the moon is definitely celestial. That's definitely cosmic. Starlight shards, celestial dew. These, I would say, are kind of arcane things. And it's a ripple. Well, the only thing, you know, if we look, we could see in the celestial dew, there's ripples in the dew. These night tears are making ripples. That's one of those, that's a little foreshadowing there, I think. The night tears, which are most celestial dew, which is most likely made from starlight shards, creates a ripple. But it's a crescent. A crescent, so it's a moon. Image of a ripple. It resembles a partial image of a ripple, but also the moon. To me, that makes me think of the moon reflecting off of the water. Whoa! Imitation crab? The Academy was making imitation crabs. Oh, I didn't want it. Wrong juice. Oh wait, I smacked him with the stick. Want to see how this does. That's a lot of damage. No, don't put me to sleep. Oh no. There's feathers in the sleep spell stuff. Okay, so seeing that it's a crescent and it's about a ripple makes me think of water, or the moon reflecting off of the water. I want to read, I'll throw the panel on the screen. I want to read something from Berserk. All right, so I'm going to read, this is from Deluxe Volume 6, more specifically Volume 18, during the Conviction arc. This is a conversation between Guts and Skull Knight. Skull Knight is warning Guts that he must go to the festival ground to find Casca, because the God Hand are going to invoke an imitation eclipse. They're going to invoke an imitation eclipse. This is what Skull Knight says to him. Unfortunately, there's no way for man to change the course of this festival. What? This world is as moonlight reflected on the water's surface. The moon's light will not be extinguished. So long as the moon exists in the sky, moonlight will remain on the water. And this is a thing which already was. What will follow now is a shadow. No more than a shadow cast high above the earth, by light from a distant, dying sun. Then you mean the results will be the same as last time? That we meet unexpectedly here and now is proof more than anything. We already subsist within the current of causality. Since you and I are in this world, we too are merely shadows on the water. Guts? Tch. Who cares about shadows? Causality. I decided on the Tower of Conviction and go there on my own feet. Nobody ordered me to. Besides, you're forgetting. I'm really bad at giving in. You gave me that name. The name Struggler. That whole causality bit, pretty shady anyway. This brown monster once predicted something to me. A death you can never escape will pay you a visit. He was sure as hell, right? Up till the eclipse. You were the same way. But then, what happened? Even if we swam in a sea of blood and shit, even if we got a little torn up, both Casca and I made it through alive. Sure, you helped us out that time. But this time, and then, I'll save her by my own strength. Then, it's intense, but it's not just anger. It's more complex. Huh? Though minute, singular details certainly can occur at a temporal nexus that even they can't predict. I, in turn, gamble everything on set occurrences. And even if it imitates the eclipse, it doesn't mean it will be exactly the same. The scope, too, has natural limits in the material domain. Furthermore, that brand carved into you, it may be of anticipated aid. What? As I told you before, due to the brand, you now live in the intersect. That is, the borderline between the physical and astral worlds. It's merely a half step, but you are outside the reason of the world. Maybe you aren't a shadow on the water, but instead, a fish that breaches the water's surface. However, I will warn you of one thing. Fight or rescue, your lover will be left alone. It won't be as simple as catching two birds. At that holy ground where blind sheep gather, you see again. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that episode of the Mimic Commentary. I think we did a lot of good theorizing, a lot of good theater, and we learned quite a bit. Next time, we'll continue through the Academy Gate Town and move up a this-a-way. All right, you know the drill. Let's do the thing.